BBC News. Hello, I'm Jerry Smith. Hong Kong's leader Carrie Lam has said the setting alight of a man during protests in the territory was inhumane. In an earlier incident, the police shot a demonstrator. Mrs. Lam was speaking following one of the most chaotic days in 5 months of protests in Hong Kong.
They are still in critical condition in hospitals. One is the outcome of an open fire incident by a police in the course of enforcement operation. The other is a very malicious case of setting an individual on fire in front of many witnesses. This is a blatant breach of peace and the rule of law.
The authorities in Zimbabwe say at least 200 elephants have died due to a lack of food and water as a result of severe drought. Last month, they said 55 had died. Zimbabwe is thought to be home to 80,000 elephants, around a fifth of Africa's total. Will Ross reports.
In an effort to prevent more of the elephants dying, a spokesman for Zimbabwe's Parks and Wildlife Management Authority said there were plans to move 600 of the animals from Save Valley Conservancy in the southeast of the country to 3 other national parks. He said until the rains came, there'd be more deaths due to loss of habitat caused by the severe drought. Giraffe, lions, buffalo and antelope will also be moved in what the authorities describe as the biggest relocation in the country's history. Park officials say there are too many elephants in Zimbabwe. Animal welfare groups have criticised recent reports that dozens of young elephants have been flown from Zimbabwe to zoos in China.
Ugandan police have raided a bar in Kampala popular with gay customers, arresting 120 people. The authorities say police seized drugs during the operation. A police spokesman said they were not aware that members of the LGBT community were among the clientele. The Ugandan government has denied that it plans to introduce new legislation targeting the LGBT community. Turkey says it has started to deport suspected Islamic State militants to their countries of origin. They're thought to have been captured recently in Syria. Alan Johnston reports.
The Turkish authorities say an American jihadist has already left the country and that 7 German fighters will be repatriated on Thursday. 11 French and 2 Irish citizens are also being processed. There's been no word yet from these countries regarding the deportations, but French sources have indicated that the Turks have been sending militants back to France quite frequently under a 2014 agreement. The Turks have been critical of Western states that have been reluctant to take back suspected IS members who are being held in Turkey.
World News from the BBC. There's been unrest in Bolivia following the resignation of the left-wing president Evo Morales, who said he was a victim of a civic coup. Buses were set on fire and looting was reported on the outskirts of the main city La Paz. The BBC's Ana Maria Roura Salazar says the situation is volatile.
At this time, it's still unclear who would take power, as several officials in the line of succession had resigned. We don't know neither when we are going to have new elections. Evo Morales is saying this is a coup, and some of his close allies in Latin America, as Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela or the Cuban president Díaz-Canel, are emphasizing on this idea. And you have now Morales supporters on the streets.
The Spanish conservative politician Albert Rivera has resigned as leader of Citizens, the Catalan-based party that opposes separatism. The party was trounced in Sunday's election, losing all but 10 of its 57 seats. It was hit by a wave of popular anger at the jail sentences given to 9 separatist leaders last month. The Gambia has filed a lawsuit to the International Court of Justice in The Hague, accusing the authorities in Myanmar of carrying out a genocide against the country's Rohingya Muslims. The Gambia, which has a largely Muslim population, is acting on behalf of the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation. Human Rights Watch has welcomed the move. Commemorative events have been taking place around the world to mark the signing of the armistice to end the First World War 101 years ago. In Paris, French horse guards paraded up the Champs-Élysées to the Arc de Triomphe, where President Emmanuel Macron led events attended by wartime veterans. In Britain, people assembled at the Cenotaph in London, while a 2-minute silence was observed at many stations, schools and workplaces across the country. BBC News.